On Friday, Donald Trump and his lawyers filed a motion asking the judge overseeing his criminal fraud trial in New York to recuse himself from the case. They're accusing the judge of political bias and impropriety, recycling similar claims about the Judge Merchan's daughter that were already rejected in August. It's basically a last-ditch attempt by Trump to delay his court proceedings, we've seen this before, which are set to begin in just 8 days. So as we all prepare for the first criminal trial of a former president in U.S. history, it's important to take a moment to remind ourselves what exactly this is all about. I mean, we all know Trump is charged with 34 counts of falsifying business records to silence adult film actress Stormy Daniels. That's why we often call it the hush money case. But as salacious as that sounds, it's not just about how Trump covered up his alleged affair, it's about why. So let's rewind just for a second the clock back to October of 2016 and the release of that infamous, horrible Access Hollywood tape. I mean, he was widely condemned in response to that by members of his own party, Trump was. Some even pulled their endorsements, and several even called on him to drop out in the immediate aftermath. Had the Daniels story gone public at that time, her revelations certainly could have further damaged Trump's candidacy. So the scheme to pay for her silence and cover it up wasn't just intended to save Trump from some personal embarrassment. It wasn't just that. The purpose, as the indictment makes clear, was to hide damaging information from the voting public. That's important to remember. Joining me now is our in-house law firm, everyone's favorite legal eagles. Neal Katyal is the former acting U.S. Solicitor General. Andrew Weissman is the former general counsel at the FBI and a senior member of special counsel Robert Mueller's team. So, Neal, let's just start with this latest development, shall we say, because on Friday, as I just walked through, Trump's team attempted to delay this further by accusing the judge of bias because his daughter is involved in political work. Clearly, there's not a lot of basis there or no basis. I know you and Andrew have said that. Is this just to sow doubt? What is the play here?
Right. You're absolutely right. There's no basis, Jen. And maybe let me just start by saying that as someone who actually pays his taxes, I'm glad to see April 15th actually having some consequence for Donald Trump. That'll be the day that the trial will start. I suspect it. Yeah, I think it will start despite this last minute attempt to delay. I mean, Trump's decisions.
You don't think it will be delayed?
I don't think it's going to be delayed. I mean, Trump's decisions all throughout his legal strategy is first lie, then deny, then delay. And we're on the delay phase of this. It's his last-ditch effort to say the judge is getting, kickbacks or some money from his daughter through this. It's something that's preposterous. It's something that was rejected by the New York court and the ethics committee earlier. So I think it's going nowhere. We will see that trial begin, and I strongly suspect Donald Trump will be convicted at the end of that trial. And, that will be the first former president to have been convicted criminally. And it may even rethink, who knows, states to rethink their felon disenfranchisement laws.
Maybe. There's a lot to watch, which is important for people to remember. So, Andrew, he's charged, as I noted in the top, of course, with falsifying business records. But we forget, this is why it was so important to walk through it, that this was to conceal his motive, which was to essentially hold back information from voters here. What do you think? I'm asking you to go a little meta here, but what do you think this tells us about kind of, I guess, I don't know if it's what he's capable of or how he might approach this moving forward?
Well, I think we saw the same strategy that he used in 2016, as alleged. We saw it in connection with the first impeachment, with his effort to get Ukraine to say that they were doing an investigation into the Bidens. Remember, that's all he cared about. He just wanted the appearance of an investigation. We then saw it in his efforts with Jeffrey Clark at the Department of Justice. He wanted them to say that there was an investigation into fraud. All of these are efforts to mislead the public in an election. I'd say the big difference between the allegations in 2016 that are going to go to trial and what we're seeing now is a little bit like what you covered with Janet Napolitano. It was just the brazenness that now he's openly saying, you know what, there's no shame. I'm not going to fire a Paul Manafort because of allegations about what he did in Ukraine. In fact, I'm going to hire a felon. I'm going to run on pardoning people who have had due process, as Janet Napolitano so rightly put out. And so he's really just become much more brazen, but it is the same strategy.
Yeah, I mean, the brazenness is such a good, speaking of brazenness, I mean, he compared himself to Nelson Mandela. In the last 24 hours, I mean, he said he was willing to go to jail. He's, of course, attacked Judge Merchan, even despite the gag order. How does this impact? This seems almost like an obvious question, but how does this impact his case?
Right. Well, first of all, Nelson Mandela, I guess, is a step down from his earlier comparison to Jesus Christ.
It's just like you can't make it up sometimes.
But legally, none of this is going anywhere. I mean, that's the beauty of the American criminal justice system. It's 12 jurors, it's, rules of evidence and the like, and these kinds of nonsense arguments go nowhere. And so that's why I suspect he'll be convicted, and I suspect even despite Judge Cannon's machinations down in Florida and the stolen documents investigation, should that case go to trial, and she's trying to make it so it may not, but if it does go to trial, he's going to be convicted almost certainly there as well.
I mean, we'll see and we will watch. Okay, Andrew, we only have about a minute left, but you're a professional, and I have to ask you about Judge Cannon, because, I mean, Judge Cannon, she rejected Trump's motion to dismiss the case, but she still won't rule on Trump's false argument. It kind of leaves it hanging out there that his personal property is kind of could be part of his, it violates the president. It doesn't violate the Presidential Records Act, I should say. If you're Jack Smith, I mean, what do you do? What can you do in this case?
I think he has to push her for a pretrial ruling. He cannot wait for this to be resolved at trial because jeopardy attaches then. So I suspect that we're going to see that continued effort to get a ruling. And then if she does not rule, I think there will be some sort of an appeal, whether it's technically called an appeal or a mandamus. I won't get into that morass. But I do think that he has to push for these pretrial rulings because of her conduct here.
Everyone's going to learn that term, so you should Google it now, because we'll, I'm sure, be talking about it soon. Neal Katyal, thank you so much. Andrew Weissman, always great to talk to you both and help us make sense of things.
Hey, everyone. MSNBC has a new and improved app. You'll get real-time alerts and analysis, live blogs, in-depth essays, video highlights, and the best 2024 election coverage. Download the new MSNBC app. Here's how to do it. You tap on the App Store on your phone. You hit search on the bottom right corner. You type in MSNBC. You click on the MSNBC app. You click on Get or the cloud icon and enjoy it.